You walk into your homes and suddenly everything feels heavy. Arguments over nothing, illness with no medical cause, a darkness that creeps in without a reason. My brothers and sisters, not every storm you feel is physical. Sometimes it's the unseen. The evil eye, or ayn, is real. It is a silent invader, often unnoticed, but deeply destructive, and it can settle in your home without a sound. Today, let's uncover the warning signs, and more importantly, how to protect your home, your family, and your peace with the light of Allah. Sign 1. Peace turns to pressure, and you don't know why. There was a time when your home felt like a refuge and a sanctuary. You'd step inside and immediately feel lighter, safer, more whole. The atmosphere wrapped itself around you like a comforting blanket. The walls didn't just hold furniture, they held memories, laughter, moments of peace. You'd hear voices that soothed you, feel energy that calmed you, and know deep down that this was the one place in the world where your soul could rest. Even if life outside was chaotic, inside these walls was where everything made sense. The home carried warmth not just because of what was in it, but because of the people inside it. People who were once deeply connected, deeply loving, deeply at ease. Light lived there, not just from the lamps or the windows, but in the way your family treated one another. There was a softness in the way conversations flowed, even when there was disagreement. There was a gentle rhythm in the way forgiveness happened, in how quickly small misunderstandings were resolved. The peace didn't mean there were no problems. It meant that love always found its way back. There was a calm between the chaos, a sense that you were all on the same side. Home wasn't just a physical structure, it was an emotional container, one filled with mercy, barakah, and unspoken unity. You used to look forward to coming back. After long days, tiring routines, the noise of the outside world, home felt like a retreat. You'd step through the door and breathe easier. You'd walk into rooms that knew your story, into the arms of people who didn't need explanations to understand you. It was a place where your shoulders relaxed, your voice softened, and your heart rested. Sitting together felt effortless. Conversations flowed, meals were shared, even the quiet moments, sitting beside each other in silence, carried comfort. The home didn't just hold you physically, it embraced your soul. And then something shifted, not all at once, and not in a way that could easily be explained, but slowly, subtly, like a shadow creeping in at sunset. The warmth faded, the comfort started to crack. Tension began to replace laughter. Moments of joy became fewer. Now, conversations turn cold, words are sharp, patience is thin. Even the smallest inconvenience feels like a spark ready to start a fire. People who used to sit beside each other in peace now avoid eye contact. Arguments begin for reasons no one remembers. And instead of feeling embraced by your home, you feel like you're walking on eggshells in your own space. It's confusing because there was no disaster, no major incident, no obvious cause, just a shift, a change in energy, a sense of emotional distance. And what's worse is that you can't pinpoint the moment it happened. That's what makes it so painful. You remember the warmth, you long for the peace, but now all you feel is pressure, and you don't know why. You start asking questions in your mind. Is it just stress? Are we all tired? Have we changed? And while all of these may play a part, deep down something whispers, this feels spiritual. That's because it might be. Sometimes what feels like emotional disconnection is actually the result of spiritual disturbance. And the evil eye doesn't knock when it enters. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't shatter glass or move objects. It goes straight to the heart. It poisons the atmosphere. It creates friction where there once was love. It injects misunderstanding into the smallest exchanges. And the people inside begin to feel a growing wall, not made of stone, but of invisible distance. People sleep under the same roof, but their hearts feel miles apart. The evil eye often enters through unguarded admiration. A friend sees your peace, your joy, your family's connection, and admires it without saying, MashaAllah. A visitor walks through your home and comments on its beauty without invoking Allah's name. A relative sees your comfort and feels envy, even if silently. And from that glance, from that word, from that heart, a spiritual arrow is fired. And if your home is unprotected, it enters quietly, fatally. And when it does, it doesn't damage your house. It damages what makes your house a home. The love, the mercy, the bond between hearts. It creates coldness. It causes people to pull away emotionally. It turns warmth into indifference. And worst of all, it makes you question yourself, your family, your choices, when really the problem came from outside. It builds confusion, it feeds frustration, and it grows in silence. So if your home has changed, if the atmosphere feels tense, if the people inside seem disconnected and you can't explain why, don't ignore that feeling. Pay attention, because sometimes what you're sensing isn't just emotion, it's a spiritual invasion. It's not a coincidence. It's not just life. It might be the evil eye. And if that's the case, then your fight is not with each other. Your battle is against something unseen. And your defense must begin with dhikr, dua, and the remembrance of the one who sees what you can't. Because this is not just tension. This is spiritual warfare. And your home is the battlefield. Sign 2, your health is fading, but the tests say you're fine. You wake up not with energy, but with exhaustion. Your eyes open, but your body feels like it hasn't rested. There's a weight on your chest, a dull ache in your joints, a tightness in your shoulders. It feels like you've run a marathon in your sleep, as if you've been battling something unseen all night. And this isn't just one day, it's been happening again and again. You try to brush it off. You tell yourself, maybe I'm just overworked, and maybe I need more rest. But even when you sleep early, even when you take care of yourself, you still wake up feeling like something is wrong. So you do what anyone would do. You seek help. You visit the doctor. You explain the pain, the fatigue, the lack of motivation, the constant fog in your head. You go through blood tests, scans, treatments. You take supplements. You adjust your diet. You try to stay active, and still nothing changes. The results come back clean. The doctors say you're fine. You're healthy, they tell you, but you don't feel healthy. You don't feel fine. You feel drained, weak, disconnected from yourself. And it's in that silence, when the world gives you no answers, that the soul begins to speak. That quiet inner voice, often drowned out by noise and distraction, starts whispering, this is deeper than the body. This isn't just physical. Something unseen is affecting you. And that's when you start remembering what you once ignored. That not all pain has a worldly cause. That some wounds aren't visible. That some sicknesses begin with a gaze. The evil eye, or ayn, is not folklore. It is a truth confirmed by our Prophet, peace be upon him, who said, the evil eye is real. It is real because we as human beings are vulnerable. Our blessings can be admired, our energy can be envied, our beauty, our strength, our health, all of it can be seen and silently resented. And if that gaze is not followed with MashaAllah, if that admiration isn't guarded with remembrance of Allah, it can harm. And when it harms, it often doesn't come as a strike, but as a slow drain, a quiet depletion. It robs you of your energy, not in one moment, but over time. You start to feel distant from yourself. Things you used to enjoy now feel like burdens. You feel constantly tired, even though you're doing less. You feel irritable, disconnected, lost, as if you're walking through life under a dark cloud. You want to be present with your family, but you feel distant. You want to focus in prayer, but your mind won't stay still. You want to be productive, but even the smallest task feels too big. And what's even more frightening is that it doesn't only affect you. The people in your home may be feeling the same. Your spouse might be facing constant fatigue. Your children might be crying more, getting sick more, sleeping less. There's a tension in the air, a kind of stillness that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels heavy, as if something is sitting over the house, quietly pressing down on every heart under that roof. And this harm may not have come from evil intention. Sometimes it comes from someone who loved you, someone who admired your strength, your beauty, your health, but forgot to protect their gaze. They didn't say mashallah, they didn't ask Allah to bless you. They simply looked, and that look was enough. Because envy doesn't need to be shouted. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's unintentional, but it's always dangerous when left unchecked. The evil eye doesn't knock. It doesn't break windows or slam doors. It slips through admiration. It travels through unguarded hearts. And if your home is spiritually vulnerable, if there is no regular remembrance of Allah, no daily adhkar, no Quran being recited, then it finds space to settle. And once it settles, it touches what's most vital to you: your health, your energy, your ability to function and feel alive. And so you begin to shrink without realizing it. You don't laugh like you used to. You don't move like you used to. You cancel plans. You withdraw from people. You feel like a shadow of who you were, but you don't understand why. That is the moment to stop blaming your body and start protecting your soul, because the solution doesn't lie only in medicine. Sometimes the cure comes from the one who created the body and the soul. Sometimes what you need is not another pill, but the healing of ruqya, the recitation of the Quran, the power of the morning and evening adhkar, the protection of Ayat al-Kursi, the blessings of Surah al-Baqarah echoing through your home. When the evil eye drains your health, it does so quietly, but the healing of Allah enters with light. You may not see it, but when you speak the words of Allah, when you make dua with sincerity, when you turn to Him in complete reliance, something begins to shift. The fog lifts, the pain lessens, the energy returns, not all at once, but slowly, steadily through divine permission. So if your body is tired and the world says you're fine, listen to your soul. If your strength is fading and no one understands, turn to the one who knows you better than you know yourself. If the cause is unseen, then so is the cure. And it begins with returning to the one who sees all things. He is Ash Shafi, the healer. And when he heals, no trace of harm remains. Sign 3, your blessings are bleeding and you can't stop the loss. Once upon a time, things were flowing. You didn't have everything, but you had enough. Your income met your needs. Your savings grew slowly but surely. You were content. You weren't chasing wealth for pride. You were simply thankful for the barakah in what you had. When you worked, results followed. When you planned, things came together. Even in the tough moments, there was a hidden ease, a sense that Allah was carrying you through, providing in quiet ways you couldn't always explain. You felt secure, you felt stable, you felt that your efforts had value, that your provision was blessed, and then something shifted without warning, without reason, without sin. Your risk started slipping through your fingers. Unexpected problems began piling up, one after another. One day your car breaks down, the next an emergency bill arrives. Suddenly your steady income starts to feel like it's barely enough to survive. You keep asking yourself, where is it all going? You review your spending, you double your efforts, you try budgeting again, you look for mistakes in your plans, but nothing explains it. You aren't spending recklessly, you aren't wasting, and still, it feels like your wealth is disappearing. Your hands are working, but the barakah is missing. You're doing everything right, but things keep going wrong. And the harder you work, the further stability seems to drift from you. That's when your heart begins to sense something that numbers can't explain. That maybe this is not just a financial issue, maybe this is spiritual. Maybe something unseen has landed on your blessings and is quietly bleeding them dry. The evil eye doesn't always show up with illness or conflict. Sometimes it strikes the most sensitive area of your life, your sustenance, your risk. Because risk is not just about income, it's about ease, it's about blessing, it's about Allah putting more in less, about feeling satisfied with small amounts, about your earnings stretching, your work bearing fruit, your days being productive. When the evil eye enters a home through envy, and even silent envy, it often begins to remove barakah before anything else. You're still getting paid, but it doesn't feel like a blessing. You still have food, but the taste of gratitude is gone. You buy things, but you don't enjoy them. You feel restless, uneasy, your heart constantly worried about the future. You see your income, but feel no peace. You see your possessions, but they bring no calm. You begin to feel like you're in a race, constantly catching up, never catching a break. The moments that used to feel full of Allah's mercy now feel tight, uncertain, unstable. You might even start to feel shame, as if this is your fault, as if maybe you're not working hard enough, not planning well enough, not smart enough. And the Shaytan feeds that lie, so you blame yourself and forget that sometimes the source of your struggle is spiritual. And here's what makes it even harder. The person who caused it may not even know they did. The evil eye can come from anyone, a neighbor, a friend, a family member, even someone who loves you, but allowed their heart to gaze upon your comfort without remembering Allah. They saw your peace, your steady income, your good fortune, and though they never said anything harmful, they didn't say mashallah either. And in that moment of silent admiration, that something harmful was released. A glance, a thought, a spark of envy that reached your home before you ever knew it. The evil eye is subtle. It doesn't knock, it doesn't scream, it creeps. And when it finds a home that's spiritually vulnerable, where dhikr is forgotten, where dua is neglected, where the Quran isn't recited regularly, it settles and it works quietly. It doesn't just take your money, it takes your contentment. It replaces clarity with confusion. It swaps peace for panic. It turns blessings into burdens. But here is the hope. Just as the evil eye enters silently, Allah's healing enters even more quietly, but with power no eye can stop. When you begin to return to Allah in the home, when the Quran is played, when Ayat al-Kursi is recited morning and evening, when Surah al-Baqarah fills the walls with light, when dua is made after every salah with sincerity, things start to shift again. Slowly you'll feel ease returning, the panic quieting, the confusion clearing. Your work begins to feel purposeful again. You may not see wealth explode, but you'll feel barakah return. The same income begins to stretch. The same work begins to bring peace. The stress begins to fade. The fog begins to lift. Allah never removes something from His servant except to teach them something greater. Maybe the bleeding of your blessings wasn't punishment, but protection. A wake-up call, a reminder to spiritually guard your home, your wealth, your heart, with dhikr, with gratitude, with submission. So if your blessings have started fading, don't just check your budget, check your heart. Don't just chase solutions, chase Allah's protection. The risk you seek is already written, but the protection of that risk, that begins with you. Start today, and no evil eye can touch what Allah surrounds with light. Sign 4, your sleep becomes a place of fear. Sleep. It's meant to be a divine pause from the world, a gift from Allah, a time when the body is still and the soul is entrusted to the care of its creator. Allah calls sleep a mercy, and rightly so, because during sleep we are disconnected from pain, from responsibility, from worry. The noise of the world fades and we are left with nothing but stillness and surrender. For many, sleep is the only time they find true peace. But when the evil eye enters your home, even this sacred peace can be taken. It doesn't start loudly, it's subtle. You begin to feel restless at night. You toss and turn. You stare at the ceiling for hours, unable to drift off even though your body begs for sleep. You wake up multiple times for no reason. Your heart races. You sweat. You feel something heavy on your chest, like you're carrying unseen weight even while lying down. When you finally do sleep, the dreams come, strange, dark, intense, sometimes terrifying. You wake up confused, disturbed, heart pounding, not knowing what just happened. And then it becomes a pattern. It's not one bad night, it's every night. You start to fear bedtime. You feel anxiety the moment you lay your head on the pillow. You no longer close your eyes with calm. You close them expecting war, because your nights have become a battlefield. Not just for your body, but for your soul. In your dreams you see shadows, snakes, fire, faces you don't recognize. Sometimes you see yourself falling. Sometimes you see yourself running, but never reaching. Or worse, you feel frozen, trapped, screaming with no sound. These are not just dreams. These are warnings. And your soul, your Ra, knows it. It feels what your conscious mind cannot explain. And while your family sleeps around you, you lie awake, silently fighting what you cannot name. Soon it spreads. Your children begin waking up in fear, crying, panicking, running to you without reason. They don't understand what they saw. They only know something scared them. Your spouse wakes up agitated, complaining of disturbing dreams. Some nights no one in the house sleeps peacefully. The mood of the home begins to shift. Everyone feels tired, irritable, emotionally worn out. And the worst part, no one knows why. This is a sign. When sleep, something so natural, so essential, so healing, becomes so dark, you must start paying attention. Because not every nightmare is psychological, not every sleepless night is due to stress. Sometimes it's spiritual. Sometimes it's a symptom of something that's entered your home and begun to whisper in the night. The evil eye isn't always loud. It often arrives quietly through a look, a glance, a moment of admiration that was never followed by MashaAllah. Someone sees your peace, your family, your home, and in their heart, envy is born. Not always malicious, not always intentional, but real. And envy is powerful. It travels further than we realize. And if your home is left spiritually open, if there's no dhikr, no dua, no protection, that silent glance enters like smoke under a door. It creeps in unseen. It doesn't knock. It settles. Then once it settles, it begins to disturb the ruh before it disturbs anything else, because the soul is the most sensitive. The body might feel fine, the mind might try to deny it, but the soul, it knows. It senses every presence, every energy, every spiritual imbalance. And when the soul feels unwelcome in its own home, it begins to cry out, through fear, through confusion, through dreams. That's why we are taught to protect our nights. That's why the Prophet, peace be upon him, told us to recite Ayat al-Kursi before we sleep, to say the morning and evening adhkar, to seek refuge in Allah from the envy of the envious and the harm of what He created. That's why Surah Al-Mulk is to be read every night, because it is a shield, a light, a fortress that no evil can pierce. Sleep is sacred. It is when the soul returns to Allah. It is when the heart resets, when rest becomes restless, when dreams become disturbing, when the night becomes heavy. You are being shown something, not to frighten you, but to awaken you. And it's not too late. The nightmares can end, the fear can fade, but you must invite Allah's light back into your home. Play the Quran in your room before sleep. Make wudu before you lie down. Place your trust in Allah with every breath you take before surrendering to sleep. And teach your family to do the same, not out of superstition, but out of spiritual intelligence. Because we are not just bodies, we are souls wrapped in flesh, and our souls need protection just as much as our homes need locks. If your sleep has become a battlefield, don't try to fight it alone. Call on the one who never sleeps, the one who guards the night, the one who can replace fear with peace, shadows with light, and terror with tranquility. Allah is Al-Hafiz, the ultimate protector. When He shields you, not even the darkest envy can reach you. Bring His name back into your nights, and sleep will return to being what it was always meant to be, a gentle pause, a spiritual reset, and a window to peace. Sign 5, the home feels off, but you can't explain it. You look back and the room feels quieter than it used to, not because of silence but because of absence. One by one, people who were once close have faded, slowly, without explanation. A friend you trusted suddenly stops replying, a sibling grows distant, a spouse withdraws emotionally, the laughter that used to fill your home now echoes in your memory, and you're left wondering, where did everyone go? At first you think maybe it's just life. People grow apart. Circumstances change. Everyone is busy. But then it starts to repeat again and again. It's not one person leaving. It's a pattern of distance, a chain of coldness. People disappearing emotionally, mentally, spiritually, even if they're still physically around. And the pain of it is not just that they left. It's that they left without a reason. You scroll through old messages trying to pinpoint the moment it changed. You remember the last conversation, the last gathering, the last call, and everything seemed fine. But now they've gone silent, they've grown cold. You feel their energy pulling away and you don't know what you did. You start to blame yourself. You ask yourself over and over again, was it something I said, something I did? But your heart says, no. Something deeper is happening, something unseen. Because this isn't just emotional distance, it's spiritual disturbance. When the evil eye enters your home through envy, through admiration left unguarded, through energy that wasn't cleansed by the remembrance of Allah, one of the most painful signs is the breaking of relationships that once brought you joy, comfort, and connection. You may have been blessed with beautiful bonds, a loving spouse, loyal friends, a family full of unity, a house filled with warmth, but blessings that aren't protected attract the envy of those who watch from a distance. Sometimes they're people you know, sometimes they're even people you love. They see your happiness, your laughter, your closeness, and without saying MashaAllah, without protecting their own heart with dhikr, their silent envy is released. And envy is never harmless. The evil eye doesn't need words. It doesn't need to be intentional. It can come through a look, a thought, a sigh of comparison. And when it lands, it doesn't explode. It erodes. It starts by placing tension where there was once peace, doubt where there was once trust, discomfort where there was once ease. Slowly, the people in your life begin to shift. Their love feels forced. Their presence feels distant. The relationship begins to decay, not from argument or betrayal, but from something no one can explain. And then they leave, not always physically, sometimes emotionally, spiritually. They're there, but not really. You talk, but it's not the same. The bond is broken, and you can't find the crack. This is the quiet destruction of the evil eye. It targets what is beautiful. And there is nothing more beautiful than love that is sincere. A home filled with unity, a family that supports each other, a friendship rooted in trust, a marriage built on mercy. That beauty becomes the envy of those who don't have it. And without protection, the evil eye enters and begins its silent war. It's devastating because you don't just lose people, you lose your sense of stability, you lose your anchor. You feel alone in rooms that used to feel full. You feel unseen by people who once knew your heart. And worst of all, you begin to doubt your own worth. Shaytan whispers to you, they left because of you. You're not lovable. You're not enough. But that is a lie designed to weaken you before you realize what's truly happening. The truth, you are not broken. You are not unworthy. You are not abandoned. You are being cleansed. Sometimes Allah removes people not to punish you, but to protect you, to realign your heart, to shift you away from unseen harm. He saw what you couldn't. He heard what was whispered when you weren't there. He felt what your soul couldn't explain. And in His mercy, He allowed a distance so that you wouldn't remain attached to hearts that had turned against you, even silently. And yes, it hurts, because hearts are fragile. We grieve when people leave, especially when we love them sincerely. But Islam teaches us nothing is taken except that Allah replaces it with something better if you're patient, if you return to Him, if you seek His wisdom in the loss. The people who left, they didn't leave by accident. They left by decree. They left by protection. They left because your soul was being prepared for something purer, for relationships that carry light instead of jealousy, for love that is blessed instead of tested, for company that lifts your iman instead of draining your ra. So what should you do when people start leaving without reason? You respond with remembrance. You clean your heart of resentment. You forgive silently. You strengthen your ruqyah. You recite ayat al-kursi. You make dua that Allah protects your heart from the harm of hidden envy and your home from the visitors who bring heaviness with their gaze. You stop chasing people and you start chasing Allah, because when Allah loves you, He subtracts before He adds. He clears the room before He fills it with better company. He quiets the noise before He teaches you to hear His voice more clearly. And He removes what is no longer part of your growth, even if it once brought you joy. So if you're in a season of loss, know this: it's not the end, it's the turning point. And soon, very soon, you will look back and realize that what felt like people abandoning you was actually Allah rearranging your life for something more sacred, more sincere, and more protected than anything you ever imagined. Let go and let Allah replace, because hearts that are emptied for His sake are never left empty for long. If you've been feeling the shift, the tension in your home, the heaviness in your heart, the unexplained changes around you. Don't ignore it. Don't brush it off as coincidence. And don't let Shaytan convince you that you're imagining things. Sometimes what you're feeling is real. Not in the world of the seen, but in the world of the unseen. The evil eye is not superstition, it's a truth the Prophet, peace be upon him, warned us about. It's a spiritual reality that requires spiritual solutions. And Allah, in His infinite mercy, did not leave us helpless. He gave us du'as, He gave us verses of protection, He gave us reminders and daily adhkar that act like shields, not just for your body but for your soul, your home, your family and your blessings. This is not a video meant to scare you. It's a reminder to wake up spiritually, to stop living in autopilot and start guarding what Allah gave you. Your peace, your rizq, your health, your sleep, your relationships. These are gifts. And gifts must be protected. So if you recognize these signs, don't panic. Return, repent, renew your connection with Allah. Make ruqya a part of your routine. Recite the morning and evening adhkar with your heart fully present. Play the Quran in your home. Speak Allah's name before speaking about your blessings. Say MashaAllah often. And most importantly, trust that what Allah protects, no one can harm. You are not alone in this. Allah is with you. And when He is with you, even the most hidden envy becomes powerless. Keep your faith strong. Keep your remembrance consistent. And you'll find that no matter how heavy the battle becomes, Allah's light will always be greater. May Allah protect your home, your heart and your soul from every evil, seen and unseen. Ameen.